Guys, if you're thinking about getting a home in 2024, you're going to want to stick with us, and we're going to give you the things you're going to want to think about between now and then.
You better get fired up.
Lissette, it's the Monday before Christmas, man. How do you feel?
I'm excited. How about you, Joe? You ready?
I'm fired up, man. I'm fired up. Christmas is my favorite time of the year. I love family. I love all the traditions and the gifts and the food. And we go for a walk in the morning as a family and just all those little things, man. They are awesome. My whole year, I work my butt off, and I'm just thinking, I love Christmas. I love Christmas. I can't wait for it. Now that it comes, if you can't tell, I'm a little excited. A little excited. All right, guys. So let's get into it. 2024. You're thinking about buying a home. There are steps you can take. I can't tell you how often Lissette and I will get a buyer who comes to us, and they come to us right when they're ready to start looking to buy a home, right? And that can be a challenge sometimes because there's some things that you may need to get done. You'll want to get done. It'll certainly position you better if you get them done ahead of time before you get into the position of needing to buy that home. So what Lissette and I would love to share with you today is some of those different things that you want to attack before we actually get to wanting to purchase the home. So Lissette, share with us maybe one or two things that a buyer's going to want to consider and prep for before getting into that 2024 home.
So planning is great, especially if this is a goal you have for next year. And it doesn't have to be that you want to purchase in January, February, March. Maybe it's something that you're thinking towards the end of the year. But also keep in mind tax season is around the corner. So there's certain things we have to keep in mind when prepping for 2024. But the very, very first step I would say is just to take a look at your finances. And that includes understanding your credit score. Where are you at? Where do you need to be at? And is there's anything you have to do to get that credit score to where you have to have it at? And number two, look at your overall finances. How much are you making a year? And how much are you putting away for savings? And do you have sufficient funds for down payment and closing costs? So those are the first things I would say you need to do immediately.
Yeah. So, man, you just took like half my list right there. That was awesome. I really think it all starts with finding someone that you trust in the business who's got experience, not your cousin, not your best friend, not your sister who sold one house, but someone who knows what they're doing, who you like and trust. And hopefully that person's either a lender or a realtor. And then I always suggest if you know a realtor, but not a lender, or you know a lender, but not a realtor, let that person that you've got that relationship with recommend a realtor or recommend a lender. And the reason I say that is when I'm pushing you to my lender, or as a lender, when I'm pushing you to a realtor, it's because I know they're going to help you and I know they're going to get it closed. They got a track record, right? So why would you want to start with a lender and or a realtor? A realtor is going to be able to answer a lot of questions. Anything that you've got dealing with real estate, they're going to be able to answer. A lender is really important, especially early on, especially to Lissette's point with tax season right around the corner, because they're going to set you up for success. If you're W-2'd, you're W-2'd. It is what it is. You're making what you're making. But if you are a 1099 contractor and you've got a business going and you've got the ability to take this much in deductions or this much, a lot of people will take this much because it's going to save you on taxes, right? But then all of a sudden, when you go to get approved for that loan in January, February, March, they base it off of those tax numbers and they're looking at your net and your net is low. You're not going to get qualified. You're going to get qualified for less than you want. I had to do this, right? The year that I went and purchased a home, first thing I did was I met with my lender and I said, what do I need to show as a net income on the taxes so I can afford the home that I want? They told me and I said, great. I knew exactly how much in deductions I could take. I did have more, but I didn't take them because I wanted to show that strong net income. And that's how I did it, right? That planning would save so many people. Every year, Lissette, I'm sure you're in the same boat. I get dozens of calls from 1099 contractors who did their taxes the way I would have done my taxes, but now they can't buy a home because they're too tight. You get those calls?
All the time, and especially around tax season. And the worst thing is to tell them is, okay, either you have to amend your taxes or we're going to have to wait another year to do another set of taxes.
Exactly. And, to go over a couple of other things, Lissette brought up credit, right? A lot of people think credit is this massive thing that you're going to have to fix. When I was in my early 20s, I had horrible credit, right? And I thought it was this massive thing that would take me a year, 2 years, 3 years to fix. With the majority of the people we're working with, it takes 60 to 90 days to get them into buyable status where they can buy a home. But in all honesty, I would say 95% of people can clear up everything within 3 to 6 months, right? They're going to be in the best position they're going to be in. Not that you can't improve, but you've got all your ducks in a row and you can get a solid loan. So you really want to start that process early. You don't want to call Lissette or myself or another realtor and all of a sudden, hey, I want to get this closed in 30 to 60 days, but you can't get your credit fixed. So start working on that now. Cash. Hey, when you go to rent, you got to have first, last, and deposit, right? So that's 3 times the rent. If the rent is $2,500, that's $7,500. If it's, $3,000, you're looking at $9,000. With a home, you've got to look, and this is where that conversation with the lender comes into play. What type of loan am I probably going to use? If you're a first-time home buyer using conventional, you can put 3% down. If you're FHA, you can put 3.5%. If you're a veteran, you can do 0 down, right? And then you got closing costs. How much are they going to be? Can I get the seller to pay for those? Yada, yada. Now you know how much cash you need down. So you can start to say, okay, if I want to buy in 6 months and I need $6,000 and I've got $3,000, I need 3 more. Divided by 6 is 500. Now I got a budget. I can start setting aside 500 a month. So when it comes, I've got it, right? So that's another suggestion. Will you need a co-signer? You do not want, and this is how it happens, right? They come to us and they say, hey, we want to go look at a home. Well, they run the numbers and they say, you are not approved for that. Let's say you're approved for 300, but you want 400. The response is going to be, you've got to go find a co-signer. Well, that's not a conversation you want to have when you're stressed out and you're under a timeline. You want to have that conversation months ahead of time with family members, friends, whoever's co-signing for you to make sure you've got your ducks in a row. So have that early, right? Another one is budget. I can't tell you how many people will tell me, Joe, I can afford $3,000 a month. Let's go look for something for $3,000 a month. And then they go to the lender and the lender approves them for $4,000 a month. And they're like, oh, Joe, we can shop for a way bigger house. Let's go look. They say, hey, listen, I don't feel like selling this house again in 6 months. And you call me crying saying you're halfway into foreclosure. Maybe, just maybe we want to stick with the $3,000 a month because that's what you said you were comfortable with. And I'll tell you, in efforts to not be influenced by the magical number that the lender may tell you, I highly suggest setting yourself a budget before you go talk with the lender, right? So that's one of the early steps that I would take. Now, when you're talking with the lender, you've got principal, interest, that's your loan, taxes, insurance, and possibly an HOA fee. Those different things can be calculated. You can have that conversation with the lender that you've got a relationship with. And now you're able to formulate what that payment's going to be and see if you're comfortable or not, right? Which is incredibly helpful. Here's another one. Your timeline. If it's really important to you that, we're into the house before the end of the summer when the kids are going to school, or I need that address to get into the school I want to get into, or I need to be by this job, by this date, because that's when the job starts, or whatever it is, you want to make sure that you're sharing that with your lender and with your realtor, I would say at least 90 days prior so that we can set you up for success, right? So that's another thing. Last thing I've got, and then I'll turn it over to you, Lissette, if you've got anything else, is your criteria. I think anybody would say, and you see this most prevalent when somebody's doing new construction, but whatever you think you want, start looking at it, start kind of soaking it in and everything now, months ahead of time, because what you're going to find is you're going to say either, you know what, I didn't really think about this, but I'm gravitating towards homes that have fully fenced in backyards. And I've got little kids or I've got some pets or whatever. I didn't realize that was a big deal to me, but it is. You don't want to find that out after you've gone out once or twice looking at homes with a realtor. You want to know that beforehand, right? So you're not wasting your time. Here's another one. Maybe you want, what's that old phrase? You got champagne taste on a beer butt, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you want ABC, whatever your criteria is, and that's going to be a $600,000 home, but your budget is $500,000. You don't want to have those tough conversations with a realtor you just met a week before you want to be under contract so you can close in 35 days. You don't want that. You want to start having those conversations with your lender months prior so you can start to say with your spouse or, maybe yourself or whatever, man, what do we got to bend on? Is this something we're not willing to bend on and we're going to stay put? If we are willing to bend, are we going to bend on the area? Are we going to bend on some of our requirements? Are we going to increase our budget? What are we going to do? And let's take the time to make sure that we're mentally prepared for that so it's not such a rush. So that's another thing I would start to work on early. What am I missing? I know there's more.
So the big one that comes to mind is just researching the area, researching the market. What neighborhood do you want to be in, and what comes along with that? Is there HOA fees? What do the taxes look like? Are you in a flood zone? Are you going to have that additional cost of flood insurance also? I have a lot of people that are looking to move to the area, and their first question is they're boaters. So they want to know, what are the water conditions? Where can they get to? Where are the docks? So just researching the market, researching your neighborhood, and understanding what fees may be associated with that
Yeah.
neighborhood as well.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I think what holds a lot of people back, if I'm going to think in my own mind, is, lenders and realtors are salesmen. So the fear is, as soon as I reach out to you, I'm going to be sold, sold, sold. You're going to call me, text me, email me every day. I don't want that. I can tell you right now, Lizette and I are not going to do that. Right. So if you want, even if you've got another realtor you're going to work with and you don't want to be sold, reach out to us. We're both happy to answer any questions you've got. Insurance questions, especially if you're not in Florida, you're coming from out of state, are huge, right? Ask us. We're happy to help you, happy to guide you. And then whether you work with us or not, we don't care. We want you to be happy and educated, making a good educated decision. And yes, I want everybody out of rentals and in homes, purchased, owned, building your own equity, building your own
Mhm.
wealth by 2024. That's a big goal of mine. So I would love to see that, whether I'm your realtor or not. Lizette, any final nuggets you want to share with everybody?
It's exciting. 2024 is around the corner, and this is one
I
of your
know.
goals. It's definitely reachable and doable. And sitting with a lender and sitting with your realtor is one of the first steps you should be doing, and just creating that plan.
Absolutely. Guys, I appreciate you joining us, whether it was on Facebook or YouTube. Please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, we'd love it if you do. And join us every single Friday where we come back here and we've got, or I'm sorry, Monday. Man, I'm getting my days confused. Where
You
we're
wish it was
here.
Friday.
I know. Where we're here every single Monday at 11:30, and we're going to give you the answers to your questions. Guys, have an absolutely phenomenal rest of your week.